Marcus Delaney stood in the rain, staring up at the abandoned observatory that now belonged to him. His Aunt Evelyn's final letter had arrived 3 days after her funeral, containing nothing but an old brass key and coordinates to this remote location in the mountains of Washington state. The massive telescope dome loomed against the stormy sky, its once gleaming surface now weathered by decades of exposure. "I still don't understand why you never told anyone about this place, Aunt Eve," he muttered, pushing his wet dark hair from his eyes. As an astrophysicist himself, the discovery that his eccentric aunt had a private observatory felt like both a gift and a mystery. The key turned easily in the lock despite its apparent age. Inside, the air was surprisingly fresh, lacking the musty smell he'd expected. Motion sensors activated soft lighting as he entered, revealing walls covered in star charts and complex equations. Some of the mathematical formulas seemed to define known physics. Marcus ran his fingers along a nearby desk, finding no dust. Someone's been maintaining this place, he realized. His aunt had passed away 6 months ago, yet everything looked ready for use. The main telescope control room was a marvel of technology, far more advanced than anything he'd worked with at the university. But it was the strange symbols etched into the metal panels that caught his attention. They resembled no writing system he'd ever encountered. A soft humming drew him to a circular panel in the floor, nearly invisible unless you knew where to look. The brass key fit perfectly into a recess at its center. The moment he turned it, the floor began to spiral open, revealing a staircase that descended into soft blue light. "What were you working on down here, Aunt Eve?" Marcus whispered, his scientific curiosity overriding his caution. The staircase led to a chamber that seemed to pulse with its own inner light. And there, suspended in a column of shimmering energy, was someone that defied explanation. She appeared human-shaped but was composed of what looked like living crystal, her form translucent and shot through with threads of light. As Marcus approached, her eyes opened opalescent and ancient. The energy field dissipated, and she stepped forward with an otherworldly grace. When she spoke, her voice carried harmonics that made the air itself seem to vibrate. "You share her genetic signature. You must be Evelyn's kin." Marcus managed to find his voice. "I'm her nephew, Marcus. She passed away." A look of profound sadness crossed her crystalline features. "Then the time has come sooner than we hoped. I am Lyra, and your aunt was my protector." She moved closer, studying him intently. "Now that duty falls to you, whether you're ready or not." "Protector from what?" Marcus asked, but even as the words left his mouth, alarms began blaring throughout the observatory. Lyra's form pulsed with urgent light. "They've found me. The Sentinel Corps has been searching since Evelyn's death disrupted the quantum shielding." She grasped his hand. Her touch was warm despite her crystalline appearance. "You must decide quickly, Marcus Delaney. Help me and you'll be drawn into a conflict spanning galaxies. Refuse and I'll face what comes alone. Your aunt understood the stakes. Do you have her courage?" Through the observatory's windows, Marcus could see strange lights descending from the clouds. His scientific mind was reeling, but something deeper, perhaps the same instinct that had driven his aunt, made the decision for him. "Tell me what we need to do," he said firmly. Lyra's smile was like starlight through prisms. "First, we retrieve your aunt's quantum core, then we run." She pressed her palm to a wall panel, revealing a hidden compartment containing what looked like a small nova captured in glass. "Evelyn spent decades developing this technology. It's the key to everything." The lights outside grew closer, casting harsh beams through the windows. Lyra handed him the quantum core. "Hold this close. It will protect you during molecular translation." During what? Marcus had time to ask before Lyra embraced him and the world dissolved into pure light. When reality reassembled itself, they were standing in a forest clearing miles from the observatory. He fought down a wave of nausea as his atoms settled back into normal space. "That was a quantum jump," Lyra explained, her crystalline form shifting to appear more human, though still with an ethereal quality that would draw attention. "A crude translation compared to proper methods, but the core's power is limited." Marcus watched distant lights converge on the observatory they'd left behind. "Those aren't standard aircraft, are they?" "Sentinel Core ships. They enforce the boundaries between advanced civilizations and developing worlds like Earth. Some of them," she hesitated, "some have forgotten their original purpose. They hunt me because I carry knowledge they wish to possess." "What kind of knowledge?" "The kind that could elevate humanity to the stars or reduce your world to ash, depending on who controls it." She turned to him, her now human eyes still holding that ancient light. Your aunt dedicated her life to keeping these secrets safe. She knew that humanity wasn't ready for certain advances, that you needed time to develop wisdom alongside technology. The sound of engines echoed across the valley. Lyra took his hand again. We should keep moving. There's a network of safe houses Evelyn established. We'll need help from others she trusted. She smiled sadly. I'm sorry about this. You've lost your aunt and now your normal life as well. Marcus looked at the quantum core glowing in his hands, then at the mysterious being his aunt had chosen to protect. His orderly world of peer-reviewed papers and university politics seemed very far away. Aunt Eve always said the universe was stranger and more wonderful than we could imagine. I never knew how right she was. She was an extraordinary human, Lyra said softly. I hope you'll understand why she kept so many secrets as we continue her work. Together, they moved deeper into the forest as searchlights crisscrossed the sky above. Marcus's mind was racing with questions, but one thing was clear. His aunt had left him far more than just an observatory. She'd left him a mission, a mystery, and a companion who would change his understanding of everything he thought he knew about the universe. The night was just beginning, and somewhere in the darkness, the Sentinel core was closing in. But for now, Marcus held tight to the quantum core, following Lyra's glowing form through the trees, stepping into a new chapter of his life that would take him far beyond the stars he'd spent his career studying from a safe distance. Dr. Naomi Wells was used to unusual readings from her quantum laboratory sensors, but nothing like this. The signal patterns pulsing across her screens defied known physics, creating harmonics that seemed to resonate with the fabric of spacetime itself. Someone's manipulating quantum fields on a massive scale, she muttered, adjusting her equipment. Her private research facility, hidden in an old bunker beneath the Cascade Mountains, was designed to detect exactly this kind of phenomenon. What she hadn't expected was a midnight visit from the source. The security alert came just as she was running another scan. Two figures approaching the hidden entrance, one with a thermal signature unlike anything her sensors could categorize. Before she could activate the defense systems, her monitors went dark, then relit with a message in flowing script. We need your help, Dr. Wells. Evelyn Delaney sent us. Naomi's hand froze above the alarm button. Evelyn had been her mentor years ago before disappearing into her private research. If she had sent these visitors, she pulled up the external cameras, seeing a young man with dark hair and beside him, a woman who seemed to shimmer even in the low light. Minutes later, they stood in her lab, Marcus Delaney, Evelyn's nephew, looking exhausted but determined, and Lyra, whose true crystalline form now illuminated the room with its own inner light. The Sentinel core is tracking her quantum signature, Marcus explained, showing Naomi the core they carried. We need a way to mask it. Naomi examined the device, marveling at its complexity. This is decades beyond current technology. The power requirements alone should be impossible. Your mentor helped design it, Lyra said, her harmonics making the lab equipment hum in sympathy. She knew you would understand its importance. Before Naomi could respond, proximity alarms blared. On her screens, three ships unlike anything on Earth descended from the clouds, their hulls rippling with energy fields that bent light around them. They're earlier than expected, Lyra's form pulsed with urgency. The quantum jumps led them straight to us. Not necessarily, Naomi said, typing rapidly at her console. I've been studying quantum entanglement shielding. It's theoretical, but with your core's power. She looked at the crystalline being. We might be able to hide you in plain sight. The lab shook as the ships landed nearby. Marcus peered at the security feeds. Whatever we're doing, we need to do it fast. Those aren't regular Sentinel troops down there. Quantum hunters, Lyra confirmed grimly. They've sent their elite. They must know what I carry. Naomi connected the quantum core to her equipment. This will either mask your quantum signature completely or, Marcus asked, or create a cascade reaction that could vaporize half the mountain. The math is solid, but we've never tested it at this scale. Lyra placed her crystalline hand over Naomi's. Do it. I trust Evelyn's judgment in choosing you as she chose Marcus. The air itself seemed to vibrate as Naomi activated the device. Lyra's form flickered, then stabilized, her glow dimming to almost human levels. On the monitors, the Sentinel ship's scanning beams swept harmlessly past. It's working, Naomi breathed. Your quantum signature is perfectly out of phase with their detection methods. Heavy footsteps echoed from above. The hunters were searching the surface facilities. Marcus helped Naomi disconnect the core as Lyra explained their next move. There's a transmission I've been tracking, she said. A signal that matches the frequency of my people's most sacred knowledge. Someone is trying to access information that could shift the balance of power across galaxies. The signal that drew me here, Naomi realized. I've been detecting quantum echoes for weeks but couldn't locate the source. Because it's not coming from this dimension, Lyra said. The Sentinels aren't just hunting me, they're searching for a way to break through to where that knowledge is hidden, if they succeed. A massive explosion rocked the bunker. The hunters were getting closer. We need to move, Marcus said, checking the quantum core stability. Dr. Wells, you should come with us. They'll question anyone they find here. Naomi looked around her lab, her life's work. But the mysteries before her were bigger than any research she'd ever dreamed of pursuing. I'll need 5 minutes to grab essential data and wipe the systems. As she worked, Lyra shared more about the signal they were tracking. It's like an echo of creation itself, encoded with the fundamental laws that shape reality. In the wrong hands, it could be used to rewrite those laws. And the Sentinels want this power, Naomi asked, downloading her research onto secure drives. Some have forgotten their purpose as guardians, Lyra's tone held ancient sorrow. They believe they should control the evolution of all species, not simply protect the boundaries between them. The bunker shook again. Through the security feeds, they watched humanoid figures in liquid metal armor methodically destroying everything in their path. Ready, Naomi announced, clutching her drives and essential equipment. Lyra gathered them close. This jump will be longer. The next safe house is in the Atacama Desert. Evelyn believed the signal's source might be hidden there. Why there? Marcus asked as Lyra's form began to pulse with translocation energy. Because some secrets, she said, are best hidden in the most ancient places on Earth. The lab dissolved around them just as the hunters breached the main door. Their quantum-shielded forms arrived in the desert night, under stars that seemed to pulse with newfound significance. Naomi oriented herself quickly, professional curiosity overriding her disorientation. If we can correlate the signal's quantum harmonics with local geological formations. First we need shelter, Marcus interrupted, pointing to lights on the horizon. More ships incoming. They're adapting to our quantum signature faster than expected, Lyra's human disguise flickered with concern. We need to find the source of that signal before they do. As they hurried toward a nearby ridge, Naomi studied her new companions, the nephew carrying on his aunt's mysterious legacy, and the crystalline being who held secrets that could reshape reality. Whatever they were about to discover in this desert, she knew her understanding of the universe would never be the same. Behind them, more sentinel ships descended from the stars, their lights cutting through the darkness like searching fingers. The race to unlock the signal's mysteries had begun, and the fate of multiple worlds hung in the balance. The Atacama's pre-dawn air was frigid as Raven Cross watched the strange trio through her enhanced optical implants. After 15 years as a Sentinel agent, she'd learned to spot the unusual, and these three were definitely that. Especially the woman whose quantum signature kept shifting like a mirage. Target confirmed, her comm unit chirped. Eliminate witnesses and retrieve the entity. Raven muted the channel. Something wasn't right about this mission. The Sentinel Corps she'd joined was supposed to protect, not hunt, and Evelyn Delaney's involvement made her even more suspicious. She'd worked with the scientist years ago before the Corps started changing. Making her decision, Raven emerged from her hiding spot, hands raised. Don't quantum jump, she called out. It'll just lead the others right to you. Marcus spun around, shielding Lyra while Dr. Wells raised some kind of scanning device. Lyra, however, simply tilted her head. You're different from the others, she said. Your quantum resonance shows conflict. I'm Raven Cross, Sentinel Core. She slowly removed her liquid metal armor's control node, letting it power down. And I think we're all being played. Before anyone could respond, the desert lit up with energy beams as 3 hunter ships descended. Time to choose sides, Marcus said tersely. Already have. Raven tossed him a small device. Quantum dampener, it'll buy us some time. There's a cavern system ahead with natural interference properties. They ran as shots carved glowing paths through the darkness. Raven's augmented muscles kept pace easily, her mind racing through implications. The core leadership is obsessed with some kind of ancient protocol, she explained between breaths. They think your friend here is the key to accessing it. The signal, Naomi gasped as they reached the cavern entrance. It's not just a transmission, is it? It's a test, Lyra said, her crystalline form illuminating the cave as they ventured deeper. My people left markers throughout the galaxy's ways to identify civilizations ready for greater knowledge. The cavern opened into a vast chamber filled with crystalline formations that looked suspiciously artificial. Raven's implants detected complex energy patterns flowing through them. Evelyn found this place, Marcus realized, pulling out his aunt's quantum core. That's why she built her observatory where she did. It's another node in the network. Naomi was already setting up scanning equipment. These formations are in perfect quantum resonance with each other. They're like relay points. For what? Raven asked, keeping watch at the chamber entrance. Lyra touched one of the crystals, sending pulses of light through the entire network. For this, the air itself seemed to crystallize, forming into a three-dimensional star map unlike anything Raven had ever seen. It's beautiful, Marcus breathed. It's a test, Lyra corrected. My people believe that any species worthy of advanced knowledge must first demonstrate they understand its responsibility. The Sentinel Corps leadership failed that test when they chose to take by force what must be freely given. Distant explosions echoed through the caverns. The hunters were getting closer. These coordinates, Naomi pointed to pulsing points in the map. They match quantum anomalies I've been tracking for years. They're all connected. Evelyn was mapping them, Marcus added. She knew they formed some kind of pattern. A key, Raven said suddenly, not to some weapon or tech but to understanding itself. Her augmented vision picked up subtle patterns in the data. That's why the core leadership went rogue. They don't want understanding, they want control. Lyra nodded. The protocol isn't about power, it's about wisdom, about knowing when not to use the knowledge you possess. More explosions closer now. Raven checked her weapons. Great philosophical discussion, but we need a plan. We complete the test, Lyra said simply. Show that humanity is ready for the next step in its evolution, but to do that, she turned to Marcus. We need to understand why your aunt chose you. Before he could respond, the chamber's entrance exploded. Through the dust stepped Commander Voss, the Corps' most feared hunter, his liquid metal armor morphing into weapon configurations. The protocol ends here, he announced. Surrender the entity and the Corps. Raven stepped forward, her own armor reforming around her from its dormant state. You really don't understand what this is about, do you? I understand power, Voss replied, and the weakness of those afraid to use it. The crystal formations pulsed urgently as more hunters filed in. Lyra's form began to glow brighter, while Marcus clutched the quantum core protectively. Naomi's fingers flew over her equipment, possibly searching for a way out. But Raven saw something in the star map's pattern that gave her hope. Sometimes the best way to win wasn't through force at all. You're right, she said to Voss, so let's talk about what real power looks like. The fate of multiple worlds now hung on whether they could prove humanity was ready for the stars, not through weapons or technology, but through something far more challenging, wisdom. The test had begun. Commander Voss's liquid metal armor rippled as he considered Raven's words. Talk is a waste of time, he growled, weapons forming from his suit's surface. Actually, Marcus stepped forward, his aunt's quantum core glowing brighter. It's exactly what this moment demands. He could feel something resonating between the core and Lyra, a harmony of energies singing in frequencies he was only beginning to understand. Naomi's scanners beeped urgently. The crystal network, it's responding to their interaction. The star map above them shifted, forming new patterns. Lyra's crystalline form pulsed in sync with it. Now you see, she said, the test isn't about power, it's about choice. But Voss had made his. Energy beams lanced through the chamber, forcing them to scatter. As Raven engaged her former commander, Marcus noticed something extraordinary. Each blast that hit the crystal formations didn't damage them. Instead, the energy was absorbed, redirected, transformed. The whole chamber is a quantum computer, Naomi shouted, understanding dawning in her eyes. It's not just mapping connections, it's creating them. Reality itself began to fragment around them as the chamber responded to the conflict. Portals opened to other dimensions, showing glimpses of worlds where different choices had led to different outcomes. Through one, they saw Earth evolved beyond its current limitations, humanity reaching for the stars with wisdom and purpose. Through another, they witnessed the aftermath of power without understanding, worlds reduced to ash by knowledge misused. This is what the protocol was designed to show, Lyra explained, her voice carrying through the dimensional chaos. The consequences of choice, the responsibility of knowledge. But Voss wasn't interested in lessons. His attacks grew more desperate as reality shifted around them. The core exists to control, he shouted, to prevent chaos. No, Raven countered, her armor adapting to each dimensional shift. We exist to protect, including protecting species from knowledge they're not ready for. The chamber's crystals sang with increasing intensity as dimensions fractured and reformed. Marcus found himself understanding his aunt's choice with sudden clarity. She hadn't just hidden Lyra, she'd been preparing humanity for this moment. In the end, it came down to a choice. As the dimensional barriers thinned, Lyra revealed her final truth. I am not just a keeper of knowledge, she said, her crystalline form now blazing with inner light. I am its guardian, placed here to wait until a species proved ready to join the galactic community not through force but through understanding. Marcus held up the quantum core, now pulsing in perfect harmony with the chamber's crystals. That's what you were preparing me for, wasn't you, Aunt Eve? He whispered. Voss launched a final, desperate attack, but this time the chamber's response was different. The energy he released was caught in a crystalline matrix, transformed, and reflected back not as destruction but as pure understanding. For one brief moment, everyone in the chamber saw the truth, the interconnected web of choices and consequences that bound all sentient beings together. The responsibility that came with knowledge. The wisdom required to use it well. Voss's armor melted away as he fell to his knees, overwhelmed by the vision. The other hunters stood down, their weapons disappearing. The test, Raven realized, was never about proving our strength. It was about proving our readiness to understand our own limitations, Naomi added, her scientific mind grasping the profound implications. Lyra turned to Marcus, her form beginning to shift into something even more magnificent. Your aunt knew humanity was close to a breakthrough, either to the stars or to destruction. She helped prepare the way for this moment. The chamber's crystals realigned, forming a new pattern, a doorway of pure energy. Through it, they could see a grand council chamber where beings of light and crystal waited. It's time, Lyra said softly. Humanity has shown it can choose wisdom over power, understanding over control. She held out her hand to Marcus. Will you help me show them the way forward? Marcus looked at his companions, Naomi with her brilliant mind and endless curiosity, Raven who had chosen protection over power. Even the humbled hunters learning that true strength lay in restraint. Together, he said, taking her hand. The chamber filled with light as dimensions merged and separated, as knowledge flowed not as a weapon but as a gift, freely given and wisely received. Humanity had passed its first test among the stars. And in an observatory on a distant mountain, the ghost of a smile played across Evelyn Delaney's portrait as her final mission reached its completion. The stars had called, and Earth had finally proven ready to answer. The end.